So today's session is on Risk Management Plan A, and my name is Sunit with the Refugee Sponsorship Training Program, and I'm joined by my colleague Helena, and we'll both be your hosts for the session today. In terms of what we're going to cover today, this session is specifically for SARS in Plan A. As you'll see in a moment, we have separate training sessions for SARS in Plan B and C. So just so that everyone is aware, this is a training session for SARS in Risk Management Plan A. In terms of the agenda for today, the session's really divided into two sections. So in the first section, we are going to look at the risk management plans. We'll provide a very quick summary of all of the risk management plans. We'll then look into the sponsorship agreement, so the new sponsorship agreement, which you've hopefully all had a chance to read through, and some of the elements of the risk management plans which are reflected in the new agreement. And then we're going to focus specifically on the requirements for Risk Management Plan A. And then in part two of the session, you'll get a look at some of the updated forms that will be made available as of November 1st, 2023. So effectively, you're getting a sneak peek at the new forms that will be coming out in about 6 weeks or so, as well as some of the other program changes that are coming to effect. Now, all of the information that we're going to cover in part one has already been shared with all SARS through the information package which ISCC sent out via email to all SARS on August 31st. So hopefully all the information in part one will be stuff and information that you're already familiar with. And really the new part in this session today would be in section two, specifically in how it relates to new forms and guides, which will be published on the ISCC website on November 1st, 2023. So, like I said, this is a specific training session on Risk Management Plan A, and this training session forms part of a wider schedule of trainings we're delivering around all of the program changes that come into effect. There's very specific and unique requirements that SARS in Risk Management Plan B and C have to follow, and those requirements only apply to those SARS in those two risk management plans. So if you're in Risk Management Plan A, you don't have to worry about the requirements that SARS in Plan B and C have to follow, unless of course you're curious, but then you're more than welcome to attend. We also have training on the new post-arrival requirements document for privately sponsored refugees, the new forms that will be coming out. Then we'll be doing walkthroughs on the PR portal. So we'll show you in those walkthroughs how you set up your account, how you invite your CTs, how you invite your co-sponsors, how you invite the refugee overseas, how you upload your sponsors forms and any supporting documents, and how you submit everything across to ISCC using the portal. So in part one of today's session, we're going to look at the risk management plans, and then we're specifically going to focus on Risk Management Plan A. Now, you can find an overview of all of the risk management plans in Appendix 2 of the new sponsorship agreement. And the screenshot that you see on your screen right now is taken from Appendix 2 of the sponsorship agreement. And as you can see, Appendix 2 of the sponsorship agreement details the requirements for SARS in Risk Management Plan A, which is the lowest risk category, Risk Management Plan B, which is the moderate risk category, and then Risk Management Plan C, which is the highest risk category. Now, the plans have 5 components. We're not going to go through the components for each of the risk management plans, just because you are in Plan A and you don't necessarily have to worry about the requirements for SARS in Plan B or C. But if you would like, out of curiosity, know what those requirements are, you can refer to Appendix 2 of the sponsorship agreement where it's detailed. And you can also attend those sessions that we have for those SARS in Plan B and C. Now, the plans each have 5 components. There's a application requirements component, a pre-arrival verifications component, a post-arrival monitoring component, a reporting requirement, and as well as a training requirement component. And we're going to go through each of these components for Risk Management Plan A later in the session. Now, if you want to know how many SARS are in each plan, there's 102 SARS which were classed and categorized as being in Plan A. There's 18 SARS that are in Plan B, and of those 18 SARS, I think 14 are new SARs, which are organizations or SARs that have recently signed agreements with ISCC. 2 SARs are SARs that were assessed as being in Plan B, and then the remaining 2 SARs out of the 18 in Plan B are SARs that have indicated to ISCC that they're not going to submit any new applications, but they will be supporting their existing caseload. And then in Plan C, we have 19 SARs, and those 19 SARs were only placed in Plan C because they were not able to, or they did not rather, submit audited financial statements with their organizational assessment last year. Now, the requirements for the risk management plans, they will be implemented on November 1st, 2023, and that's also when the new forms and guides are scheduled to be published on the ISCC website, as well as the currently scheduled launch of the permanent residence portal. But for any new applications that you're submitting effectively January 1st, 2024, you do have to make sure the applications you're submitting adhere to the requirements of the risk management plan that you're placed in. And in this case, for you all, it's risk management plan A. The good news is it's, for the most part, business as usual for all SARs in risk management plan A. If you look at the 5 components, you'll see that there's very minimal changes compared to what you're doing now. So in terms of the application requirements for SARs in risk management plan A, there's no additional documents that need to be submitted. So whatever documents you're submitting now, whatever forms you're submitting now, they will carry on as normal, with the exception of the new forms and guides that will be published on the ISCC website on November 1st. So as of November 1st, you do need to make sure you're using the new forms and guides, but there's no additional documentation requirements around supporting documents that you might need to submit with your application package because you are in the lowest risk plan category. Whereas SARs in plans B and C, there is additional supporting documentation that they have to submit with their applications. So with the exception of the new forms and guides that will launch on November 1st, there are no additional documentation requirements and no changes to the application requirements for you as SARs in risk management plan A. Now, when it comes to pre-arrival verifications, there are no pre-arrival verifications for SARs in risk management plan A, so it's effectively the same as it is now. You will not be asked for any pre-arrival verifications from ISCC. When it comes to post-arrival monitoring activities, so again, it'll be the same as it is now for you. Your cases may be randomly selected for routine monitoring on a quarterly basis, so it's still the same practice as it is now. And there's no changes to the frequency at which your SARs caseload will be monitored by ISCC. When it comes to the reporting requirements, again, it's business as usual for your SAR, no changes there. You will only have to submit your annual report at the end of the calendar year, which is the same as you do now. So no changes on the reporting front either. When it comes to training requirements, again, there's no changes there. If you do have any individualized training needs, if you do need support with training your CGs and co-sponsors, please reach out to RSTP or your local RSTP trainer, and we'll be happy to help with that. If you look at your organizational assessment results, which you should have received on August 31st, if there's anything that ISCC has identified that your SAR needs training on, please do reach out to us and we'll be happy to organize that for your SAR. But like I said, there's no specific training requirements for SARs in Plan A. It is done on an ad hoc and individualized basis. So that's just a very broad overview of the 5 components in risk management plan A. We will come back to these later on in the session, but what I'd like to do now is look at the specific sections of the sponsorship agreement that have been updated to incorporate elements of the risk management plans. So hopefully everybody has had a chance to read through the sponsorship agreement. It was shared by ISCC via email on August 31st, 2023, and the new sponsorship agreement goes into effect on October 10th, 2023. There are 2 specific sections where elements of the risk management plan are incorporated into the new agreement. So the first is section 5 of the agreement, which states that the organizational assessment process, which you all went through last year, is now part of the 5-year sponsorship agreement cycle. So every 5 years, your organization will have to go through this organizational assessment process as part of the renewal cycle of the sponsorship agreement. And as part of the organizational assessment process, ISCC will conduct the operating risk analysis in the same way that they did last year. And you've already been through that process for the first time in 2022 and 2023, and you'll be scored and placed into a risk management plan. So that's the first part of the sponsorship agreement, which incorporates elements of the risk management plan. The second is in Appendix 2. And what Appendix 2 has is, if you remember that screenshot that we had a couple of slides ago, it's basically that. So it summarizes the requirements for all of the risk management plans and looks at the 5 areas. So like the application stage requirements, the training requirements, the reporting requirements, the pre-arrival verification requirements, and the post-arrival monitoring requirements for each risk management plan. So if you want an overview of the requirements for each plan, please refer to Appendix 2, because that screenshot that we saw a couple of slides ago, that's where that is taken from. Now, there's 2 other key changes to the sponsorship agreement as they relate to the risk management plans. The first is the fee that you as a SAR can charge to your CGs and co-sponsors for any admin costs incurred with you submitting the application to ISCC. That fee is $525. And the reason why we're mentioning that here is because within this 5-year cycle of this agreement, any admin fees that you collect can be used and put towards the cost of getting audited financial statements for the next 5-year cycle, where you will have to go through the organizational assessment process again. The next change in the agreement is the mid-cycle review that exists within that 5-year cycle. So if you look at Appendix 2, it states that every 2.5 years, SARs in Plan B or C, they may be moved to a lower risk plan if there's no issues or concerns that ISCC has identified as part of its pre-arrival verification process or its post-arrival monitoring. So SARs within Plan B and C rather, will have the opportunity to move into a lower risk category plan. And that will happen during the mid-cycle review. That will happen in 2.5 years. And now obviously those SARs in Plan C, if at that mid-year review cycle point, they're still not able to provide an audited financial statement, then they will most likely not be able to move up in risk management plans, and they will have to stay in risk management plan C. So those are the key areas within the agreement where changes and elements of the risk management plans have been incorporated into it. And I recommend, if you have not done already, please just have a read through of the new sponsorship agreement, because there's a lot of new information in there, specifically that relate to the risk management plans, but also elements which relate to agreement actions and what happens if your SAR is placed into an agreement action. So please do read through the new sponsorship agreement if you haven't had a chance to already. Now, we're going to very briefly go through the 5 components of the risk management plan as they relate to risk management plan A. And as I mentioned earlier, the first is the application stage requirements. And as we saw, it's business as usual for the most part for SARs in risk management plan A. There's no additional documentation requirements that you have to follow or adhere to because you are in risk management plan A. The only change is part of the broader program changes that come into effect in fall 2023, and that's specifically email submissions will switch over to submissions through the permanent residence portal, and the new forms and guides that will be published on November 1st, 2023. But for the most part, there's no additional documentation requirements. If you are submitting applications right now via email, when the permanent residence portal launches, and it's currently scheduled to launch on November 1st, 2023, you will have to switch over to submitting your applications via the digital portal, or you can submit your applications by mail. And the new forms and guides will be published on November 1st, 2023. The second of the 5 components of the risk management plans is the pre-arrival verifications, but like I mentioned earlier, SARs in Plan A are not subject to any pre-arrival verification, so you do not need to worry about responding to pre-arrival verification requests from ISCC because you are in Risk Management Plan A. The third of the 5 components is post-arrival monitoring, and there's no change here because, again, you're in Risk Management Plan A, which is the lowest risk category, and it's business as usual where ISCC will randomly select a sample of cases every 3 months, just as they do now, and they will still initiate that process by sending you the request for information letter. And we do have hyperlinked on the slide a link to the case review process timeline document. And if you would like to review the case review process, you can just click on those hyperlinks on the slide deck. So fourth component, risk management of the risk management plan is the reporting component, and there's no change there again. Like we mentioned, you will still continue to report as you do now via your annual report, which you complete and submit to ISCC at the end of each calendar year. So no change for SARs in Risk Management Plan A when it comes to the reporting requirements. The final component is training, and again, no change here. If you do have any individualized training requirements, if you need assistance with training your CGs and co-sponsors, if there was anything that ISCC highlighted in your organizational assessment summary when it comes to training, please do get in touch with your local RSTP trainer and we'd be happy to facilitate that training. But there's no individualized training requirements for SARs in Risk Management Plan A. So we're now going to move into the second part of the session, and I'm going to pass it off to Helena, and Helena will walk us through the new forms, the new guide, and also some of the other program changes that will affect all SARs regardless of what risk management plan they're in when they do launch in full. So Helena, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sunit. So in addition to the introduction of digital signatures, there are several updates to various forms, like Sunit mentioned. Specifically, we will look into changes made to the undertaking and settlement plan, the appointment of a representative in the expected committee of settlement. So furthermore, there is a brand new form that we will be discussing today, and also the guide itself. These updates are currently, like Sunit mentioned, at final stages of preparation, and the new forms are due to be published concurrently with the launch of the digital portal. While we may not have images of all the forms and the guide at this moment, but we do have confirmed details about the changes in the content. So our focus today will mainly revolve around the significant changes that have been made. So moving to the next slide, I'll start with the updates to the undertaking form. This is a dynamic form, meaning it adapts based on your selections, making it more user-friendly and efficient. One significant enhancement is that this form is now applicable to all SARs, regardless of their risk management plan. So it accommodates features for Plan A that differs from those Plan B and C. So for those working with Plan A, when you make your plan selection in a Section D settlement plan, as you can see on the screen, a pop-up window will guide you to complete the IMM 5440 Risk Management Plan A form, and you'll need to fill out this form, the settlement plan form, and keep it in your SAR records. And one notable update is that the expansion of the settlement needs checklist within the IMM 5440, it now includes more comprehensive lists of tasks organized by timeline and includes a dedicated section for financial needs. This improvement will provide a clearer roadmap for your sponsorship effort. So basically, this is another new thing that we're seeing. Let me clarify the usage of the settlement plan, the IMM 5440 form. This form is specifically designed for applications submitted by SAS enrolled in Risk Management Plan A. So SAS submitting applications, let's say for Plan B or C, will have to complete their settlement needs checklist within the dynamic field generated in the sponsorship undertaking form. And the settlement needs checklist has undergone a significant expansion, offering more comprehensive and detailed overview of the settlement requirement. And when we look at the process for the settlement plan form, it remains unchanged. SAS will fill out the form and retain in their SA records, and just as you have done previously. So you, especially for those who have signed their agreement 2 years, that has been in the agreement for 2 years, they usually keep their settlement plan in their records, and once IRCC wants to access them, that's the request that comes from IRCC. So in that regard, it's the same as before. What's noteworthy, however, is the significant expansion of the settlement needs checklist within the IMM 5440 form. Now it includes more detailed breakdown of tasks organized by timeline, streamlining the information that you need to provide. As part of this enhancement, narrative questions have been removed. Instead, much of the information you would have previously explained in the narrative format can now be addressed directly within the settlement needs checklist. Additionally, the financial checklist is still included, but it's now separated from the extended settlement needs checklist and making it more accessible, as you can see on the screen. So these are some of the changes that we've been given from IRCC. So moving to the next slide, I will touch upon the appointment of representatives in the expected committee of settlement form. So for those SAS who work with representatives in the committee of settlement, you may recall that previous version of the form included the same settlement checklist as the settlement plan form. In keeping with the updates made to other forms, the revised version continues to include the settlement needs checklist, but narrative questions have been removed, and much of the information that you would have in the narrative is now answered in the settlement needs. So this ensures clarity and accountability in the sponsorship process. And like the other forms, these forms can be signed digitally as well, which we will talk about in a few minutes. So I will introduce you to the brand new change of contact form, which combine information that was previously, scattered across various documents. So this form serves two main purposes. So if you need to make changes to the contact information on file for your SA with IRCC, this is the form that you will be using. And the other purpose of this form is you will use it when your SA needs to add or remove official representative. So the beauty of this form lies in its dynamic nature. It adapts to your specific needs and selections, opening different sections as necessary. Moreover, it provides helpful checklist of the required supporting documents that must accompany the form, streamlining the process for you. So whether you're updating contact information or managing your SA official representative, this form got you covered. So for those of you who are in the process of adding official representatives using the change of contact form, there is a specific supporting document required. As you can see highlighted on the screen, you will need to ensure to have a proof of Canadian citizenship, registered Indian or permanent resident status, a criminal record check, sponsors assessment form, which is the IMM 5492, which contains basic information about the sponsors, The RSTP training certificate regarding this RSTP training, it will be a course specifically tailored for a new SA signing authorities and main contacts. This e-training course will launch on November 1st. So moving to the next slide, we will be talking about the guide 5413. And it has received some important revision on to better serve your needs. First and foremost, an introduction has been added to provide a summary of the recent changes to forms and processes. This introduction is designed to give you a quick overview of what's new and what to expect from this new guide. And the guide maintains its familiar structure with a hyperlinked table of content listed by step, making it easy for you to navigate the documents. And additionally, you will find numerous links throughout the documents that can quickly take you to related sections, simplifying your access to relevant information. And one notable addition is the inclusion of the new document checklist for each risk management plans. This checklist will be useful in ensuring with any new requirements, especially as you transition to using the digital portal. You will have more detailed information on this guide. And also the guide continues to provide post-submission information, but now it also covers post-submission risk management requirements, including pre-arrival verification instructions. These details are essential for ensuring a smooth sponsorship process. So I'll just quickly talk about the post-submission risk management requirements. Under the Program Integrity Framework, cases submitted as of January 1st, 2024, may be randomly selected for IRCC's pre-arrival verifications. The cases submitted by SAS in Risk Management Plan B and C will be going through this verification. However, for those of you who are in Plan A, you don't really need to go through this verification. However, cases submitted by SAS under agreement actions, which are those who are not in good standing, you can refer to this in section 14 and 15 of the sponsorship agreement for details. And also when ROCO conducts this checks, this is done for all SAS, G5 and community sponsors. So if they need any additional information from sponsors based on if they have any, if they can satisfy that sufficient financial and settlement capacity is in place, IRCC will conduct these checks to make sure that the sponsorship group still has enough funds, that the sponsorship residency requirements are still being met, and that the updated settlement plan is in place closer to the time where the refugees are scheduled to arrive in Canada. If a case, let's say, for Plan B and C, are selected for pre-arrival verifications, ROCO will contact the SA to request an updated settlement plan and proof of funds and will provide them with 30 days to respond. So this is how they're going to reach out for pre-arrival verification. And PSR application process is now integrated into the existing permanent residence portal. Individuals can apply for permanent residence directly online, which eliminates the need for mailing and emailing applications. If you haven't already attended the information session about the digital portal, I strongly recommend checking the training schedule because the sessions provide a wealth of information that we won't have time to cover in this session. However, I would suggest registering for those sessions. But I'll just give you a few key points about applying through the portal. The refugees' permanent residence application form are web-based forms that you can fill directly online. Sponsorship form will remain a fillable PDF forms that you can complete, then upload into the portal. So it's important to ensure that you upload all the required documents for your specific risk management plan. The new guide 5413 includes a separate document checklist for each plan, so which we will be going through, and we will have a detailed walkthrough of the digital portal and how sponsors can submit application. But for now, just keep in mind changes coming, and those trainings will be scheduled in the upcoming weeks. So now you have more flexibility when it comes to signing your form. So the good news is that all forms can now be signed digitally. And if you're new to creating a digital signature, we have a YouTube video that provides you a step-by-step guide. However, if you prefer the traditional method, don't worry, you can still submit forms by printing them, signing them by hand, and then scanning the document back to the digital format. So whether you're embracing the digital era or sticking to the tried and true, we've got you covered. And I think I will conclude my presentation here. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you very much, Helena. So thank you all once again for attending, and thank you to Helena for also being here and co-facilitating. Have a good afternoon and a good rest of your day.